Wow! This is my sourdough starter. If you're new in my channel, my name is Gluten Morgan and this is my sourdough starter. And we're going to make this from scratch. Yes, step by step. And if you are already subscribed to my channel, it's okay to see again the recipe, learn how to build this sourdough starter from scratch. Maybe you find some new tips or something else that can help you make your everyday baking better. Okay, so this is a sourdough starter and I'm going to show you how to build this from scratch. Take a look at this first, how creamy, full of air it is. Beautiful, ready to start baking bread. But first of all, what is sourdough starter? I don't know. No, yes, I know. Sourdough starter is yeast. Yes, it's the oldest yeast in the world. Maybe you're familiar with the yeast that you buy at the supermarket or the grocery, the one that is dry or maybe it's fresh. There are many kinds of yeast, but this yeast, this is the first yeast, the original yeast, the artisan yeast. The other one is commercial that you can buy in the supermarket, and it's the one that you use your whole life to bake bread. And this one is the one that the humanity have been using since the beginning of the beginning. So this is the first yeast in the world, which came a little bit forgotten maybe because the commercial yeast took place and invaded all the bakeries because it was faster. That's the main difference between the yeast that you can buy at the supermarket that you've been using your whole life and this kind of yeast. This one is slow and the other one is fast. So that's why it gained all this terrain in the world that all the bakers started using this kind of yeast instead of the sourdough, which was the first yeast in the world. Why? Because it's faster. As I said, if it is faster, then you can bake bread faster and then you can sell bread faster. That's why this kind of yeast took place and this one disappeared from the bakeries. But not all. Many bakeries and many people all continue using this kind of yeast, and that's why I'm here to tell you how to make this yeast. The thing is that using this commercial yeast, there's nothing wrong using commercial yeast. Even I use also this commercial yeast. The thing is that when you use a lot, when you abuse of this yeast, you shrink the time. When you shrink the time, the fermentation time, the proofing time, then you lose taste. The bread has no taste. It's tasteless. So the faster you ferment, the little taste you're going to have in the bread. So the thing is that the sourdough starter, this kind of yeast, is slow by nature. It is really slow. It's like 4 or 6 times slower than the commercial yeast. So this one will give you a lot of time to ferment. The fermentation process is going to be much longer and then you get better taste. That's the difference. And another thing is that, as its name says, sourdough, it's a little bit more sour or acid too. That's the difference between commercial yeast and this kind of yeast. And it's just really easy to do. The ingredients that we need are this: a little bit of flour, some water, a jar, and a spoon. So these are the ingredients that we need. There are many other recipes in books or on the internet too that they tell you how to make sourdough starter from scratch. Mostly they say that you need equal parts. 1 part of flour, 1 part of water. For example, 1 kilo flour, 1 kilo water, or 1 liter water. Or 100 grams flour, 100 grams water. The same. Parts, equal parts. But today I'm going to show you how to make my own method, which is by the eye. Yes, by the eye. We are not going to measure anything, weigh anything. We are just going to do it by the eye. Yes, really, really simple, because the key here is to achieve a texture. We're going to look for this kind of texture, which is really creamy. It's not that humid and it's not that dry. It needs to be like a cream, like a mousse. Maybe that's the texture that we're looking for, because it depends on the kind of flour that you're using. If you're using a flour which absorbs a lot of water, then you'll reach with a texture a little bit dry. But if you use a flour which doesn't absorb that amount of water, you end up with a runny texture, and that's not good. Both are okay. The thing is that when the dough is more liquid or more humid, the fermentation process is going to be faster. And then if it's faster and maybe you're a beginner, then you won't be able to see what's going on with the sourdough, and maybe you end up with a mess. So the thing is that you keep that hydration lower so you can make the sourdough starter work a little bit slower so you can see with your eyes what is going on. That's why I say to make this by the eye, looking for the texture and not waiting or measuring anything at all. So let's start. It's really easy. So we have this jar. This is a recycled yogurt jar. It could be of glass, plastic, metal, whatever. And also you can use a lid. It doesn't have to be really tight. It's just a lid. And then we go with the recipe. Really simple. I'm going to put 2 spoons of flour. The flour that I'm using is bread flour. Why I'm using bread flour? Because bread flour has starches. Starches are the sugars that these microorganisms that are present here. We have the lactobacteria and we have another kind of microorganisms which are the yeast. Both microorganisms are going to eat all these starches, the sugars from the flour. So that's why we need a sugar with starches. So wheat is okay, rye is okay, spelt is okay, rice is okay. The thing is that rice has no gluten. Today we are making sourdough starter with gluten. But for example, you cannot use almond flour. Almond flour has no starches, so that kind of flour you can use to make your sourdough starter. Okay, so we have these few spoons of flour in the jar. Now I'm going to add water. What water I am using? I am using water from the Alps. No, it's okay. Just use regular tap water. It's okay. If you want to use mineral water from the Alps, it's okay too. But just use water, okay? Drinking water. So now I mix this, the flour and the water, and look for this texture. And it should be not that runny. It should be like this, like a cream, okay? Creamy texture, like this. Take a look at this. It's not that runny, it's not that dry. What happens if it ended up a little bit runny? Then I add more flour. And if it's too dry, then I add more water. It's as simple as that. So we are not measuring, waiting, nothing. Just look at it. If it's like this, it's okay. That's the texture that we need to achieve. Really simple, and we don't need to make a huge amount of sourdough starter. With this, it's okay. Here is the life of the sourdough starter starting. Why? Because this yeast that I tell you, this lactobacillus and the yeast are sleeping. And then when you add water, they start eating because we're feeding them with starches. So they start feeding, and then the process begins really slowly. This is going to take us a few days, like 5 days, for example. Minimum 5 days. Maybe it can take a little bit longer. But the key for this to start, this thing is starting from scratch. There are 2 things. One is to regularly feed the starter with what? With flour. The same flour that you're going to use for baking the bread. That's the flour that you're going to use. And water. And then the other key, really important thing is the temperature. The temperature should be around 25 degrees Celsius. Here you have in Fahrenheit 2 for you to understand what is the temperature. It is really important because if we are in a colder environment, then this is going to be really, really slow. The process is going to be really slow. That's not what we are looking for. And on the contrary, if we are on a hot environment, maybe you're in, I don't know, Miami, somewhere which is really hot, then that's not good too. That's another problem because we need to try to move around this 25 degrees Celsius. So try to make the sourdough starter in a place, maybe in your kitchen, maybe you have some air conditioner, or if you are in a cold weather, you're using some heating. The idea is to try to keep this temperature around this 25 degrees Celsius, which is the best temperature for achieving a good sourdough starter in a normal time, right? In around 5, 6, 7 days. That's the idea. So this is the first day. We have just started our sourdough starter today, and now we need to start. Now what we need is time. We need to let this sit here on the counter for 24 hours. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, it's been 24 hours, and yes, I'm dressed like yesterday. Don't worry. So take a look at this. Oh, nothing at all. It's just smells like mixed flour with water. Okay, there's nothing had happened here. It's much the same thing as yesterday, but this is working. This is okay. We have just started. It's been 1 day, so we don't have much more to do. Just feed this again, because we need this to be fed every day. So let's go again with a little bit of more flour and a little bit more water. We're just at the beginning. Just a little bit more water, always by the eye. That's the secret here. And mix this again. We mix it again, looking always for this creamy texture. And that's all. Like this. And check this out. Oh, runny. If it's runny, you add more flour. And if it's too dry, you add more water. And in this case, the texture is okay. So, what do we have to do? Nothing. We still need to wait till this two microorganisms, the yeast and the lactobacteria, start playing around, working with each other, getting them to know. They need to start making a friendship. So, let's wait another 24 hours. Okay, good morning. Here's our sourdough starter 48 hours later. Okay, we've been feeding this for 2 days. Okay, we started, yesterday we fed it, and now take a look at this. There are a few bubbles here. There are a few bubbles here around. Interesting. This means that this project of sourdough starter is starting to work, but it's not yet finished. Oh, it smells different, I guess today. Look, there's some bubbles there. That means that maybe the yeast or the lactobacteria are starting to work. They are feeding, they are producing gases, and this thing is working, but not yet ready to start baking bread. So, again, what we could do here is to feed them. Again, since we are making slow amount of sourdough starter, we don't need to discard anything by this moment. So I will add a little bit more of flour and water again, as I've been doing all this time. 1 spoon, 2 spoons, not that much. Some water again, and we mix it. Always trying to achieve this creamy texture. Remember, that is the secret. And the temperature, 25 degrees Celsius. Here is also in Fahrenheit. But try to move to Celsius, which is Celsius, it's more precise than Fahrenheit. And also grams instead of ounces and all that. In bakery, it's really more important to use that. Okay, so take a look again at the texture. It is creamy, as I said. That is what we're looking for. So remember, if it's too runny, add more flour. If it's too dry, add more water. Always by the eye. Okay, almost finished. Again, I'll see you in 24 hours. Okay, day number 3. Yes, I'm still dressing the same shirt. Forget it. Okay, so take a look at this. Now we have some beautiful bubbles here. What? This is working. Yes, the sourdough starter, it's almost working. Not yet done because we've been doing everything right. Feeding every day, good temperature, so everything is working okay. Oh, and it smells, I'll tell you, look, take a look at this. There are many bubbles there, looking beautiful. That means we are going, okay, we are doing the things right. And the smell, this is characteristic of this sourdough. Sourdough starter is a ferment. So fermentation makes funny smells. So the sourdough starter smells maybe like cheese, like yogurt, like beer, maybe some cereals, but it smells. Yes, it smells sometimes a little bit funny, but it's okay. So don't worry if your sourdough starter smells, that is okay. So we are going on the right road. And what do we need to do now? Maybe what we can do now, because since this jar is almost full, I'm going to discard a little bit now. Maybe it could have happened yesterday, or maybe this can happen tomorrow. You see, if you're achieving or reaching the top of the jar, then you can discard a little bit. This is going to help the sourdough starter to clean it. We clean it, we give it more strength to it, so we're going to refresh it again. Refreshing means feeding the starter again. So with this discard, you always asking me what to do with this. Can I make another sourdough starter with this? Yes, you can, but why? If you're making this one with this discard, you can make maybe waffles, pancakes, or even crackers. In my channel, there are many recipes that you can use with this discard. So we have sourdough here starter, and what do we do again? Feed it. With what? With more flour. Again, 1-2 spoons of flour. And of course, more water. There, always by the eye. And I mix it. Always looking for that creamy texture. Again, always. Remember that, always. Remember that that's the key to achieve an excellent and healthy sourdough starter. Good. Take a look at it. Again, creamy, always by the eye. Good. So, nothing much to do now, just wait another day. See you tomorrow. Hello, and welcome to the sourdough starter day 4. And okay, again, we fed it yesterday, and ooh, it smells really, really nice. A little bit acid, but at the same time, I feel like cereals and some kind of yogurt, maybe some vanilla or natural Greek yogurt. Yes, like Greek yogurt. Look, and all the bubbles that it has. A lot of bubbles, beautiful bubbles. That means that we are almost there. This is day number 4. Maybe it depends on your flour, your environment. It may take a little bit longer, a little bit faster. It depends. So this is not exactly right. It should take around, like today, 4 or 5 days. It's beautiful. So, not much to do. Again, feed it one more day. With what? Always with the same flour, by the eye. And here, water. Mixing and always looking for that creamy texture. And we are almost done. There. Beautiful. Let's take a look at this. Wow. Perfecto. Perfect creamy texture. That's what I need today. So, I'll cover with the lid again and wait another 24 hours here. I want to go home. Oh, hello. I was having breakfast. Day number 5. Take a look at this. I think that now we have the sourdough starter ready to start baking bread. Full of bubbles, air everywhere. Oh, it smells incredible. And take a look at this creamy texture. Full of bubbles, creamy. super soft. It's like a mousse. This is how your sourdough starter should look when it is ready to work, ready for start baking bread. So this happened on the 5th day. As I said, this can take maybe a little bit longer, maybe 1 or 2 more days, but that should be all. Always remember temperature and feeding every day. So now that we have the sourdough starter ready to start baking bread, how do we start baking bread? Well, first of all, here in my channel you have many recipes about how to make bread. But how much sourdough starter do I need for 1 kilo flour? For 1 kilo flour, what you need is 200 grams of sourdough starter. So 200 of sourdough starter for 1 kilo flour, and then you can make, that's the equation that you need for baking bread. There are many recipes, of course. Also, you have my application, my app, which is Gluten Morgan Baker's Percentage, that is going to help you to build these recipes. Remember that it's free for download for Android and iPhone. Here's the link, so you can download it. But it's like this, 200 grams of sourdough starter in 1 kilo flour, that's okay. Then you add the water, salt, or many other ingredients that you want. But it is really simple. So what happens now? The thing is that when you build your sourdough starter, you're going to bake bread. I don't know if you're going to bake bread every day, but if you are going to bake bread every day, the secret to keep this alive is feeding. As I always said, flour and water. You use it, you take a part of the sourdough starter, you use it, and then you feed it again every day. So you can keep it at room temperature. Always remember that temperature, 25 degrees Celsius, and then you feed it, you use it, you feed it, you use it every day. What happens if I don't bake every day? Because maybe you don't bake like me everyday bread. So for not ending up with this huge container of sourdough starter, maybe even a bigger one, take a look at this. Wow, super creamy, super, take a look at this. Ooh, like this. Wow, it's beautiful. So if you don't want to end with this huge amount of sourdough starter, there are many things that you can do. The first one, as I said, the temperature is really important. So if you lower the temperature, you make this thing, this starter, to work slower. How? Well, put it in the fridge. If you put this in the refrigerator, then you will lower its temperature, and then the feeding ratio should be slower. So then you don't need to feed it every day. The thing is that if you leave it forgotten in your fridge for a long time, then it's going to take some more time to bring it back to life. So when you want to start baking bread, then you need to remove it take it out of the fridge and then bring it again to your kitchen or wherever you're baking at this temperature that I said always, and you need to feed it again. You need to feed it again with what? With flour and water, and then give it this temperature. No? So with the temperature and the feeding, you get this sourdough starter working again. Maybe it can take you a few hours, or maybe it even can take you 1 day, 2 days. It depends on how long you left it in the cold environment, the fridge. So that is going to happen. Sometimes what I recommend is to discard a little bit. If you have this sourdough starter, for instance, forgotten for a long time, what I recommend to you is to do this. Just discard a little bit of sourdough starter like this, like I did before, and then add more flour and water again, so you can clean it and give it more strength. Always do this. It's always the thing about flour and water and temperature. Feeding, temperature, flour, water, and this creamy texture. That's key. The creamy texture. If it's a little bit runny like this one, then add just more flour. Really simple. Do a little bit more flour like this. Mix everything, and then you need this sourdough starter to be active again. How can you understand us or know when the sourdough starter is ready to work? Well, first of all, the sourdough starter, look, here's the texture again. The sourdough starter should duplicate or triplicate its volume in the jar. Maybe this one it's going to almost explode. But the thing is that the sourdough starter, when you feed it, it will take like Depends. If everything is okay, like 4 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours, depends on the feeding ratio, of course. Always by that it's okay. But when you see that it doubles or triples in size, that means that the sourdough starter is ready to be used. It should look like this. Again, take a look at this. It should look bubbly, creamy, like a mousse. So this is going to show you that the sourdough starter is ready to be used to bake bread. So another way to know if your sourdough starter is ready, for example, I have another sourdough here. This one is made out of rye and it has 240 years. Yes, old. This sourdough was started in Finland, then someone took it to, a monk took it to Greece, and then the sourdough librarian from Belgium took it from Greece to Belgium, and then I went to Belgium and took it from him, but a copy. So this is a 204 years old sourdough rye starter. And another way to know if it's ready to be used is in a glass to put some water, and then we take a spoon of this sourdough starter and put it here on the top. If it floats, means that it's ready to bake. Wow, it's floating. So it's okay. If it doesn't float, then what you have to do is to feed it again. Feed it and wait. You need to feed it again, wait, and then it will be ready to bake again. Wait till it doubles or triples in size. That's the thing. The secret here is feed, temperature, and wait till it's ready to be baked. That's the key secret of everything. Another way to keep your sourdough starter, if you're not going to use it every day, is to dehydrate it. Yes, you can dehydrate it. And if you dehydrate this yeast and this lactobacteria, when they are dehydrated or lower in hydration, then they will start working slower. So that way you won't have to feed it every day. So how do we do that? We take sourdough starter, which should be active, and then you put just 1 spoon of this starter there, and then we are going to add just flour, no water, only flour. So we slower this way the velocity of the fermentation, the speed of the fermentation. So this way we dehydrate it and we're going to lower the activity of the yeasts. So this is going to help us to keep it for longer without feeding it. That's the secret, dehydration. So this is just a regular dehydration. Maybe if you know what is biga, which is a pre-ferment, this looks like a biga, for example, but made of sourdough starter. So when you have it almost mixed, just with flour, then you can pick another jar or maybe a bag like a Ziploc, and then we put it in there. And this way, take a look at the texture. It's really dry. You put it there, and this is a good method to keep it dehydrated. This way, you don't have to feed it every day. You can keep this in the fridge, you can keep this outside, you can travel with this. Yes, you can travel like I do when I travel everywhere in the world to bake bread. So I take a little bit like this, and when I arrive at the place or when I want to bake again, what I do, I just add a little bit water, warm water maybe sometimes, and then I go adding slowly some more flour, and in a few hours, maybe the next day, you have the sourdough starter ready to start baking again. But if you want to be a little more extreme and you want to dehydrate it for good and like a mummy, yes, like a mummy of sourdough starter, you can do flakes. You can dehydrate it like this and make sourdough starter flakes. This is dehydrated almost for life, and it's a good way to have a backup of your sourdough starter. How do we do that? Really, really easy. We take this parchment paper and then we put some more starter here. So we put starter here and we spread it all over this paper like this. It's like we're painting. And yes, that's what's going to happen. We're going to leave this there outside in the kitchen without covering it. So, whoa, this way it's going to get dry. This is going to take a few days, maybe 2, 3, 4 days. And you leave it there somewhere in your kitchen and it will dry like paint. And take a look at this. Now, this is what is going to happen after this time. It's going to dry and then you have these flakes. Excellent. So this is the best method to keep your sourdough starter forever. So this is how you make this flakes. So when you want to use, again, this starter, what you have to do is to put this in a jar, just a few of these flakes, add water, and let it sit for a while. Then go adding slowly more flour, maybe some more water, and give it some time. How much time? Maybe 1 day or 2 days. Yes, it's going to go longer, but it's faster rather than making a sourdough starter from scratch again. So this is a good way to keep your sourdough starter inactive for a long period. So that's all for today. Remember, in my channel you have many videos with more details or more tips about sourdough starter, many recipes, a lot of recipes, but the key to have a healthy sourdough starter is to use it. The more you use it, the healthier it is going to be. If you don't use it that much, then you have a sourdough starter not that good, maybe too acid. So if you keep it always feeding it and using it, because that's the secret, that's why you build the sourdough starter at all. So when you use it, you feed it and you keep it lower in acidity, it's going to be healthier, it's going to be more active. So that's all. Feed it, give it some temperature, room temperature, 25 degrees Celsius, that's okay. And may the gluten be with you. And remember to subscribe if you haven't not yet subscribed, like this video, share it, and check out my other recipes. May the gluten be with you.